Hi everyone, it's Kelly from the Hub. I am here today with Steph, a registered dietitian at WellSpan Ephrata Hospital. Steph, how are you?
I'm good today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we are going to continue our journey into nutrition and all of that kind of stuff, healthy eating and all of that. And we're going to talk about stuff that I think that everyone will find really accessible. This is the conversation about I don't cook, or I don't want to cook, or I really sort of buy frozen meals because it's easier for my family, that kind of stuff. How do we make those kinds of things, like convenience foods, a little healthier? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's good. We're all stretched for time today. Like we're all busy running from activity to activity. So finding ways to keep our meals balanced, but actually having healthy choices is important.
So let's talk about frozen foods first, because I think that that's one of the things that you can just like walk down that aisle, put a lot of things in your cart and go yeehaw. So like, I'll just tell you what I like. I'm an old school Stouffer's girl. So that like big tray of lasagna and or mac and cheese, that's the road I travel down on. So if that's what I get, how do I take that and turn it into something that you would approve of? Because I gotta say, as much as that's gonna make me smile using my small plate, because I'm better at that now, there's still a whole lot of unhealthy, I'm sure, in that. So tell me how to do that kind of thing first.
So the problem with a lot of the processed foods is it's higher fat and higher sodium, and the sodium is actually really high on a lot of those foods. So some of your frozen dinners, they might be a balanced meal, like some of those Stouffer's meals are like Hungry Man. They have the meat, the starch, and the vegetable, but they also have a lot of added fat and added sodium. So there are some better choices with some of the frozen dinners. Your lean cuisine has a lot of good options. Your Healthy Choice, Weight Watchers, Smart Ones, which is the Weight Watchers brand, Kashi, those all tend to be balanced. You still have your protein, you have your starch, you have your vegetable, but they have way less sodium, way less fat, and the calories are usually a lot lower too for those.
Okay, then I gotta ask the question. Are they good?
They're actually good. I've had them. They tend to be small portions. So sometimes I'll supplement them. Like if I eat that for lunch, I get kind of hungry by 2:33. So you could have a piece of fruit with that. You could have a side salad with it, kind of supplement it with some healthier foods too, to give you a little more calories, or if you're getting hungry soon after you eat those. But they do tend to be lower fat, lower sodium. They meet our guidelines when we talk in class about like healthy choices. They usually do tend to meet those.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about like Hungry Man. I mean, it's
Mhm.
called that for a reason, right? I mean, give you
Right.
like 4 Salisbury
You can
steaks.
have, so your sodium for the day is 2,000 milligrams. Some of those frozen dinners can be 3 to 4,000. They can be really high. So you could have your whole sodium for a day or a day and a half in one of those frozen dinners. So I'd really caution you, like you really want to make sure that those are, usually the guideline I use for those is like 700 milligrams or less sodium for like a frozen meal.
Okay. All right. All right. So I've gotten frozen meals. We've checked that one off the list. What about like the veg alternative? So sometimes fresh veg, especially now if we're walking down the grocery store aisle or getting it delivered, fresh veg can be a little pricey.
Yes.
So,
So the fresh or frozen are usually the ones that don't have any sodium or fat added. The frozen, if you're choosing those, I would choose the ones without sauces. So they would be the plain frozen vegetables. They tend to be a cheaper alternative too to the fresh vegetables. I'll use those a lot in stir fries. They have already cut up peppers and onions sliced that you can use quick and easy. Canned vegetables can work too. You just really need to watch the sodium content on those. So The canned vegetables, they do have them now with no added salt, or they'll say less sodium. Those would be what I would choose for the canned vegetables. If you have the regular in your pantry already, rinse them. So put them in your colander, rinse them off, and then use them. Don't throw them out because they're high sodium, but you could rinse them off too.
Okay. And if I'm making the choice between frozen or canned, you would say I should get frozen before I get canned.
Frozen over the cans, yeah.
Okay.
So the frozen, they quick freeze, so they pick it and they freeze it right away, so it retains a lot of its nutrients. So the frozen is usually even better than the canned vegetables if you're gonna use these.
And no sauce. So for people, for parents who are like, I gotta get the cheese sauce. Nope.
If you can do it without, it's better. But if you need a little, just I would use the least amount you can do to get your kids to eat the cheese sauce vegetables. So
Yeah.
the other thing with like your frozen meals, like your frozen stir fries they have available,
Yeah.
they'll have a sauce packet in there, usually separated on the frozen ones. So if you don't use a whole sauce packet, so you buy those frozen stir fry mixes where you add chicken to it.
Yeah.
You don't need to use a whole sauce packet, and that's where most of the sodium's going to be. So if you can cut back on the sauce packets that are available in the processed foods, that's going to help too.
Okay. All right. So friends of mine have said that when they go to the grocery store, sometimes they'll pick up like Hot Pockets or pizza rolls or those kinds of things, and that's a meal. I've only been told that by friends. I mean, I don't know. Because those check a lot of boxes when you want it quick, you want it cheesy, whatever those boxes are that you would need to check off. So what about those kinds of things that might be considered like appetizers or snacks that you turn into a meal? Like how do you make pizza rolls better?
So if you have, a Hot Pocket, you would kind of have your starch with the coating and the protein with your filling, whether it's pepperoni or ham or cheese. They do tend to be a little higher sodium, so this isn't all the time, but every once in a while, if you want a Hot Pocket for your sandwich, and you balance your meal. So you have your protein and starch. If you could add like a fruit and a vegetable to that, you have a fairly balanced meal there with the Hot Pocket. If you're adding fresh fruit and fresh vegetables, you're not adding any sodium or sugar or anything to that. So you can use those processed foods and make a balanced meal out of it. Even French fries, like your frozen French fries.
Oh yeah, I've also been told by a friend of a friend that those are delicious.
Yes. So if you bake them, you don't fry them. So you put them on a cookie sheet and you bake them. And you have those with a lean meat and you have a vegetable with that. Again, you have a balanced meal, but you didn't have to spend an hour cooking a starch or anything to go with it. So you can use the processed foods to make those balanced meals. It's not that you never want to use them. They're available, they're quick and easy. It's just kind of thinking through, how can I make that a balanced meal and not just having that processed food by itself.
Right, and making sure that that is a quarter of my plate, not 2/3 of my plate.
Correct.
Right, the small plate that I'm now using.
Fries, yes.
Right, right. Okay, so that helps with those snacks because sometimes that's a meal.
Right.
Because it is.
Yeah. So my teenage son would probably eat 3 Hot Pockets and not add any fruit or vegetables versus having one and having some food with it. So,
right.
Just trying to think through, how can I balance that?
Okay. So let me ask about like convenience breakfast foods, because there's a lot of that stuff in there, whether it's like a pre-made like frozen sandwich or like waffles or the like toaster strudel-y kinds of things. So for some people, that's breakfast.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't think about veg pretty much at all for breakfast.
Right. For frozen waffles or pancakes, they do sell whole grain waffles or pancakes now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You could get those, a whole grain waffle or pancake. If you put a little peanut butter on there, you got some protein, and add a fruit, you would have a balanced meal. So you know, and again, you could take those and make them balanced. The breakfast sandwiches are a little more difficult. They're a little more higher fat, sodium, depending on what the meat is in there. They do sell though, like egg white sandwiches. I found they have like a English muffin with an egg white sandwich versus, you know, the eggs with the bacon or sausage on there. But again, you could have that every once in a while with a piece of fruit and low fat milk and have a balanced meal with those.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about those, I'm thinking not only is, especially for breakfast, is that something, you know, that's something that we think of as frozen, but how many of us have accidentally found ourselves in a drive-through because that's a convenient breakfast thing, and then you were like, ooh, all the sausage, all the bacon, all the home fries. So if we're thinking about making it healthier, and what I love about this segment is that, look, we're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're gonna buy that stuff. It's how do you make it better once it's at your house?
Right.
So in the drive-through, we're thinking about, right, the same kinds of things. Do they have an egg white version? And I think that, well, I know we shouldn't say names of places, but there
Yeah.
is a place that I think has like a bread that's like it's like a thin bread, so it's a lot, and it's whole grain, so it's like less calories. And
Mm-hmm.
so that could be a good version to do those kinds of things, even though sometimes you want 3 or 4 of the full fat, full meat, full cheese,
Right.
double meat stuff. Yeah, right. We have to figure those things out when we're in the drive-through and not let our excitement
Right.
take over.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did like, oh, you talked about milk, low-fat milk. I guess we got to ask the question about chocolate milk, man.
So chocolate milk, you're going to get the calcium, you get all the nutrients out of it, but it's usually double the calories and double the sugar. So that would be the problem with the chocolate milk. So I would say, you know, again, in moderation, and I would definitely be choosing the low fat chocolate milk over the regular. If that's all you can get someone to drink, then it's almost better to make your own and kind of try and get it as pale as you can get it. You know, just keep working down to where you can drink the white milk would be the best option. The bought chocolate milk is really high in sugar and calories. So, you
And they
know, if you
put a
can
lot
get
of other
yourself,
stuff in it so that it's thick and so that it's,
yeah, yeah. And the big key would be buying the low fat. So the low fat chocolate milk over the whole chocolate milk. You know, if that's all you can get your kids to drink, then I would, or yourself. Um, yeah, again, I would just try to water it down with making your own so that you can slowly get back down to where you can drink the regular milk again. So,
okay.
yeah.
What other convenience kinds of foods do you want to chat about? We did the frozen aisle. Where else are we having pitfalls at the grocery store?
So the like flavored rice mixes or pasta mixes that they sell,
Oh,
again, they tend to be super high in sodium. So sometimes again they have the spice packets separate.
yeah.
Sometimes the spices are already mixed in. If you can buy the ones where the spice packet is separate, you could use less of the spice packet. I've also said you could take, so if you're making a rice mix with the flavoring, you could make that, but then also make some brown rice and mix it half and half. So you still have the flavor, but you have less of that sodium. So you're not going totally plain with the rice, but you still have, you know, some of the flavor that you would have had with the flavored rices.
Yeah, and even for pasta, would you recommend that you could make like a side of plain pasta and add some plain pasta in to sort of cut that down a little bit too?
Correct. The same thing with the flavored pasta. You could make, they tend to be white rice or white pasta. They're not the whole grains when they're those mixes.
Oh, yeah.
So you could buy whole wheat pasta or brown rice and mix that in to cut back on the sodium too. So you'd have a bigger volume. You could use it throughout the week, but you would have less of the sodium that's there.
Okay. I forgot about that part of the grocery store. Yeah. And That's fierce. That's fiercely convenient too. And you're right. And if you think about it, because we did that whole episode, pardon me, about planning.
Mhm.
When you're doing your planning and you pick up some of those convenience things, just you got to walk it through in your head and go, all right, let me get a box of whole wheat pasta, or let me get a bag of brown rice, and then I'll just make that ahead on whatever day is your day to do that or whatever. I'll just make that ahead and just keep it in the fridge so that I can just add it as we go through the week.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Yeah.
that's handy.
Yeah. The other thing would be your soups. So sometimes we'll use soup as a
Oh,
whole
soup.
meal.
Yeah.
So just making sure that, again, the sodium on those can be really high. So they do sell lower sodium soups. They sell no salt added bouillon or broth. So if you're going to cook with broth, I would try to get those versus the ones that are regular. Because again, you could have your whole day's intake of sodium with 1 can of soup.
And that is truly one of those things that is, I mean, quick, easy, satisfying.
Mhm.
I make a grilled cheese with it. Pardon me. Which is probably not so good, but you're right. Having that, yeah, too much sodium. You're right. Too much sodium. Sorry about that.
No, you're okay.
I need to take a drink. What is there any other part of the store that we need to be thoughtful about?
I think we covered most of it. The canned fruits will be the other thing. Just they're okay to use. I would try to get them packed in their own juice or packed in water. So you can use the canned fruit. The problem with those is you took the skin off. So you lost a lot of the fiber and some of the nutrients by taking the skin off. But they are a healthy alternative as long as you're making sure that they have no added sugar. They would be fine.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I think, we're talking about, like the fresh or the frozen and the canned are sometimes a more economical alternative. And it seems like frozen fruit, not necessarily an economical alternative.
No,
That I
they're not
think that,
always cheap.
yeah, people use those for smoothies and that's become really popular. So canned fruit is much more economical, I think, if you're looking for that kind of a thing, rather than frozen fruit can be a little pricey depending on, how that looks.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think one of the good things, of course, now is that it's farmers market season. And, lots of times farmers markets and, local roadside stands and all those kinds of things, you can get really good prices on a lot of this, fresh stuff that's coming in the garden and all that kind of stuff. So that could be a nice alternative for people.
Yes. Yep.
This is really good because we've all been there
Yes.
and we
Yep.
are all there.
Yep.
Kids, no kids, busy, not busy, cooking, good at cooking, not good at cooking. You buy a Hot Pocket because you buy a Hot Pocket. So it's good to be able to have an alternative and a method to make it be something that I just don't have to go, well, I guess I'll just have chips with it. So we have to make it better for ourselves.
Right. Yep. Just thinking about your balanced meals, going back to basic nutrition, and you can use those foods, just trying to, do it in moderation and then trying to make it balanced when you do use them.
Love it. Steph, as always, you always put it into perspective for us so that we can remember, as we've said every time, baby steps, man, baby steps.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Great. We will chat again next week.
Okay. Sounds
Thanks.
good.
See ya.
Yep. See ya.